What's dangerous is when the universe pick you and you put on the magic glasses. There's rules that go with them. You can never take them off. You never see things as they're supposed to be. You see things as they are. And you can never force nobody else to wear them.
I think while I lie awake and contemplate tonight are wearing me out. Well, maybe tomorrow the world will wake and get it right, but I have my doubts, yeah. During the day, well, I design machines of war that scream through the sky. 'Cause I, for one, I like to go to bed free at night under these stars and stripes. And I have my doubts that we're coming out. Yes, I have my doubts, and I have my doubts that we'll make it back out. Yes, I have my doubts, but they'll wind you up and pull the cord until you're spun right out, and I don't understand. Roll the dice and raise the price to feed the machine's mouth. Call it the progress of man. And I have my doubts that we're coming out. Yes, I have my doubts. And I have my doubts that we'll make it back out. I have my doubts, so I'll drink my stuff and raise some hell and shoot my guns to the end of my time. You can have the booze and go to hell and take the guns, but I know they won't be mine. Messed up and out of touch, let's text someone who's in the other room. So don't wonder why we don't say hi or know anyone. I might as well move to the moon. So maybe I'm wrong. Well, I hope that so maybe I'm wrong. Well, I hope that I'm wrong. Well, the things I think, well, I lie awake and contemplate at night are wearing me out.
Good evening. Hope everyone is doing well. So, for those that may have missed the little announcement, there's a good chance that every other Monday, in fact, I'm just calling it now, every other Monday, I won't be doing a show because I'm going to be dealing with the city council meeting, recording it, uploading it to the Highland Patriots website, and then doing a little summary video, hopefully a little bit better than the first one. But something interesting from that little summary video, I realized two things. Number one, some of you all on YouTube know me better than even people that I've lived in a town with for my entire life. And the other thing is, I fit in a very narrow band, if you will, of the quote-unquote truther movement, if we want to call it that. It's kind of comical to me. So if you come around these parts very long, you know I'm somebody that I don't talk out my butt. If I say something, it's because I've got a reason for saying it, because I know something to back up what it is that I'm saying. And it was kind of funny because I mentioned in that little video that I did for, just like a real short summary of the and it wasn't very good, but real short summary of the council meeting. At the beginning of the council meeting, there were several individuals from the town that spoke about there's some kind of a contract that's up to be signed. I didn't get a chance to dig into that today. Kind of hoping somebody will speak up and contact me and give me their side of it, because it's one thing to look at paperwork and stuff like that, and it's another thing to hear from people about it. But there's one part of it in particular that I'm really not interested in, and that's the whole, oh my God, climate change nonsense. Most of what I heard coming out of people's mouth that was against this contract being signed was climate change nonsense. And I'm not at the least bit concerned with that. I felt for one lady, because she experiences, and many people do, experiences health issues as a result of a bunch of particulates in the air. But the truth of the matter is, those particulates aren't coming from our energy. Well, in a sense they are, but not for electricity, not for power. The majority of the particulates that we get here come from two places. One, St. Louis. It's St. Louis. And two, just west of us, between us and St. Louis, we have some refineries and a bunch of industry. We've got some steel mills that's in Granite City. And then, like I say, refineries that's in the Wood River area. And I forget the name of the actual little town there. But it's right by Wood River. It starts with an R. But anyway, so that's where most of the pollution comes from that we get here. It's not from coal-burning power plants. So I mentioned just real briefly in the video that that's not where climate change was coming from. And so I got a message, and somebody, they were like, well, how do you explain the oceans getting warmer? Of course, after I got done shaking my head, I explained that, look, our magnetosphere, which is what protects us from the energy of the sun, is getting weaker, and the oceans are what soaks up the majority of those particles, that energy from the sun. And since the magnetosphere, which normally filters a lot more of it out than it is currently, all that extra energy is hitting the oceans and the planet itself, and everything's warming up. But I doubt that my explanation was well received, which brought me to the other point of humor. Because at this point in my life, I cannot stand conspiracy theorists. Because they drive me nuts. It's like and this might hurt some feelings, I don't care. But it's like I associate them all at this point with flat earthers. I mean, they're just that out of their damn mind. This whole, oh, CERN, they're going to fire up the 666 machine during the eclipse, and they're going to usher in the Antichrist devil particle, and I mean, it's to a level of stupid. And then you've got NASA, who's, you know what, I'm telling you right now, there are people that are sitting in these real super comfy leather office chairs with these desks that probably cost more than your home, laughing their asses off while they name this stuff because they know what people are going to do. I'm serious. I guarantee you they are. I know I would be. You put me in that position to name those frickin' missions, and I'm going to be laughing my ass off and trying to see how I can make people's heads spin. Why? Why not? I mean, come on. If you're a pencil neck and your life is that damn lame, you got to find humor somehow. Why not? And that's, I guarantee you, what a good part of this stuff is. Oh, no, man. It's the devil. It's evil. They're going to launch these missiles at the eclipse, man. And they named it. Did you see what they named it? It's like, get a grip, man. They're doing it for a laugh at this point. I mean, look at how people act with this stuff. I laugh at it because I know how people are so predictable. And that offends people. It is what it is. But people are. They're very predictable. Especially people that want to run with stuff. If you find people that just want to run with stuff just so they got something to run with, oh, it's so easy to guide and steer them along. It's humorous. And I think that's where a lot of the flat earth stuff came in, to be honest. Because they knew that they could distract, a certain amount of people with total, utter nonsense. And that's going to take care of a lot more than just the nonsense people that believe in the bunk. It's also going to tie up the people that are arguing with those people that believe in the bunk. So you got at least twice, maybe 3 times the people engaged in absolutely nonsense conversations and getting nowhere. So that led me to think, man, I am in a small band of people. And I find it humorous. I think it's funny. Why? Because I've always been one. I had no problem standing by myself alone. And I feel that a lot in the truther sphere, if you will, and even in the prepper sphere. Because many of the preppers do not want to have to put any actual mental work into stuff. Sure, they'll stack and pack, man. They'll stack food to the rafters. They'll, do this or other things. Some of them might even go pay for a course here or there, right? Learn how to patch people up or what have you. But they won't sit down and figure out how to fix something. And I'm going beyond just how to replace a part. No, I'm talking about how to fix that part that you would otherwise replace, right? And I actually, in the community thing, I actually made a post to J.A. Dudley, and hey, I don't want to be I'm not an ass towards these guys because I don't like them. I'm an ass towards these guys because they are leading people incorrectly. They just keep buying shit. Just keep stacking it, right? None of them are saying, hey, man, maybe we ought to buckle down and learn something. I mean, something tangible. Hey, it's great if you know how to perform nixtamalization for corn to make sure that you don't destroy, remove all the vitamins from your own body while you're trying to fill your body with vitamins, right? That's all great, but nixtamalization only covers corn. It doesn't cover the equipment to plant, harvest, or process that corn, right? So it doesn't even cover how to make sure that burner still operates if you still got propane or something, I mean, this is the stuff I'm talking about. And it takes a lot more depth. It takes a lot more work, a lot more effort to learn this stuff. So I'm not an ass to these guys just because I want to be an ass, or it's not an ego trip that I can be an ass because I know it and they don't. But I am one of those people that I am convinced that at some level it's best to throw the kid in the water and tell him to learn how to swim. That's not always the best place or always the best method to teach somebody, but it is more often than not. And I'm not saying it's a one-size-fits-all kind of thing. But there's a whole lot of people out there in the prepper sphere, if you will, that have no motivation to actually learn useful skills. You can only go around shooting people for so long. And they all want to talk about being able to shoot. They all want to talk about being able to ruck. That stuff's going to be short-lived. Much shorter-lived than they have any idea. But that's where they put the majority of their effort. Why? Because it looks cool to their buddies. You know what doesn't look cool to your buddies? Not knowing how to fix your gear and starving to death or what have you because you don't know how to fix your gear. That doesn't look cool to your buddies. But they probably won't understand that until they get into that position. And then they're cussing me because I was trying to get them motivated to learn something. I don't know. Right, exactly, Friday. When the oil dries up, so does this farm. But it didn't need to because there's wood gasification. And that's just it. There's wood gas. I had heard something a long time ago that most all of us have heard, but I took it to heart when I heard it. And that's where there's a will, there's a way. And I know I heard my grandpa say it, and now I paid attention to what my grandpa said. I loved my grandpa. And he would always say that, where there's a will, there's a way. And my dad would say it, not quite so often. And I surely didn't listen to my dad like I did my grandpa. Now, I wasn't around my grandpa a ton or anything like that, but when I was around him, I soaked up every single thing that he said. And that was one of the things, where there's a will, there's a way. And I can remember my grandpa showing me some of the coolest things that he made. Like, he really enjoyed whittling wood. And, he would show me these little things that he made. There was this, little box thing with a ball in it, right? It was all made out of wood. And then what was the other thing? Oh, there was a couple of baskets that the handles, the handles of the baskets were through one another. So, literally, he carved both baskets. He did it all together. Just all kinds of things that my grandpa would carve. That took a lot of skill, took a lot of time and patience. And just I would look at that stuff and realize the amount of time and patience that went into that. And realized that when he said there's a will, there's a way, he meant it. Because there was a way that he could carve that box, if you will, I don't know what else to call it, and still have that little ball on the inside of there, right? Or carve those baskets to where the handles of the baskets were through one another. And there was something else that he did too, which is much more common. He did the chains, of course. He carved the chain, made the chain out of wood. But there was something else that was, and it's slipping my mind, and it's much more common than the other stuff that you see, that it has to be done that way. It has to be whittled together like that. But Grandpa was really cool. He also he also really liked to make lamps. And he would take the, I guess they were 1 gallon. Were they 1 gallon? They may have been bigger, I don't know. Glass bottles. And, he would drill a hole through them. Well, I guess I should probably say grind a hole through them would be more accurate. And make lamps out of them. He loved doing that too. So, Grandpa was a good guy. I'll never forget, his house always smelled like coal because that's how he heated his house. They had a coal furnace, and that's how he heated the house. Always smelled like coal, and I remember the coal bin down in the basement, and I can actually still smell their house. So if I think about it, I can smell their house. It's really cool. Combination of coal and old people. You know that medicated smell that old people have? Combination of coal and old people. That's about the best way I can put it. They moved here. I was pretty young. And they moved here to Highland. We had an assisted living center just on the edge of town. And they had moved there. And I don't think Grandpa made it real long. I don't remember how long it was. But he didn't make it real long after they had moved and sold their house and stuff. But that was crazy. I still remember that house well, though. I remember the layout of the house. I remember the basement, the smell. I can tell you where his workbench was. I can tell you where the room with the coal in it was. It's been a long time since I'd been there. It's amazing how well I remember that place. But I absolutely do. But anyway, he taught me where there's a will, there's a way. And that taught me to never give up and to always look for that way. Always try to find that solution. And that's what I do. That is what I do. And sometimes you try and you put your all into it and it doesn't work. And that is what it is. But at least you did. At least you tried it. You just didn't throw that broken part on the pile, throw it away in the trash, and be done with it. At least you tore it apart and you tried to fix it. You tried to figure out what was wrong with it. And that means more than anything. Because even if you don't fix that, you might learn a few things along the way to either fix the next one or be able to work on something different entirely, But it's all that process, and it takes effort. It takes time. And that's the thing that I try to get through to these folks in the prepper verse, if you will. And they just don't grasp it because you can't buy it. You can't add it to the cart. It's something that you have to actively work for. So, I think somebody's making comment about that in our Highland group about the energy thing. So I will make sure to comment on that. So I can try to get somebody to talk some sense into me. No, let me know what's going on, because I don't know what's going on. I have no idea. All I know is, there's some big 6-year contract that, we're up to sign or something like that, and it's to do with the energy. And I guess if we want to keep the way that we currently do business, because, and I've said this a million times, we don't pay the big Illinois power supplier, which is Ameren. Our power bill's not through Ameren, it's actually through the city. And the reason why they are able to do that is because, A, we do have our own power plant. It sits idle, they don't use it, but they can use it. And B, because I guess we assign some contract or something, IMEA or something like that, and it allows us to do what we do, which is buy the bulk energy from Ameren, and then our town resells it to the citizens. So when we typically get a much better deal than like the straight Ameren customers do. However, I don't think it would be beneficial or price effective for us to fire up our own generators, because I think that would wind up costing us probably even more than what it would to go through Ameren directly, to be honest. Because we couldn't buy the stuff in enough bulk to make the price work, basically. And I don't know if I know that our power plant got redone. I don't know if if it got switched. It used to be diesel, but they do have a big like natural gas substation right near there, if you call it that, a substation. And so I don't know if they maybe swapped over to like a natural gas system or not, or if they kept the diesel or what. But anyway, hopefully I can find out a little bit more about that and get more engaged in that. But again, I'm not interested in any of the climate change bunk, because that's exactly what it is, bunk. And the truth of the matter is, we don't have a better system that we can move to at this time. If we did, believe me, I'm all about ringing that bell. I am all about ringing that bell. But it's not time to ring that bell yet. We don't have viable solutions. We're not going to get viable solutions with big energy pushing them all away, buying out all the patents and all that good stuff either. So no good answers other than to run the good old boy network out of the country, literally, and do what America does best, and that's figure out what works. We weren't good at that. At one time, we were really good at that. We were really, really innovative. And now, people and corporations that have benefited from all of that innovation are holding back people that are at the gate because they want to remain in profit, and that's not cool. That's not cool, but that's the truth of what's going on. We could be using alternative energies already, most certainly. Our vehicles could be running a much better, cleaner fuel called hydrogen, but we never could get anywhere with that because big oil keep pushing it back. Same with the battery technology. We could have insanely good batteries that would make all of it beneficial and useful. But the problem is all the patents keep getting bought out, or people accidentally shoot themselves in the head in a hotel parking lot. You know how things like that happen. And so we never get anywhere. And until that good old boy network gets pushed out, we never will. We never will. They just want us to be stupid and hand over our money. That's what they want. So anyway, sorry. I didn't mean to get on any type of a rant tonight, but I guess I did anyway. Let me have a sip of coffee. I do have quite a few articles up. I will say that War News 24/7 is back, and I'm loving it because, man, did they ever have some information on there that I didn't see anywhere else. And I'm very happy to say that as of the 1st of this month, April Fool's Day, War News 24/7 is back. So, coffee. Yum, yum. Okay. Ah, man. Yeah, grandmas were kick-ass Friday. I just looked down and saw that. Sometimes grandmas could be more dangerous than grandpas. Now, I didn't have that situation, not with my grandparents on my mom's side. I didn't ever meet my grandparents on my dad's side, but I have a feeling that if I did, it would have certainly been the case where grandma would have been more of a concern to kick my ass than grandpa. From the stories I heard. Alright, let's do a little bit of news. I think that's why we came here, not to listen to me go on. CNN says Russia's new EMP weapon, the big threat in space, capable of turning countries into the Stone Age. Now, this is something that we've been talking about as far as EMPs for a long time. It is probably one of my bigger concerns as to the big what-ifs, because I could see a country utilizing an EMP much quicker than I could just an all-out nuclear war. So, there's a much different... I mean, it's actually probably more evil to EMP a country than what it would be just to wipe them out with nukes. Because one's a fast death for the most part. For a lot of people, it's a fast death. The other way, it's a pretty damn slow death for a lot of people. So, but on the surface, it doesn't, for whatever reason, look as bad, I guess. Anyway, I didn't do it. Hang on, let me see. That was a news headline coming in. Oh yeah, there was an earthquake in Taiwan. 7.2 triggered a tsunami warning. So that's going on, and I don't have that in the headlines. So, all right. Russia is trying to develop a nuclear space weapon that would destroy satellites by creating a massive energy wave when detonated, potentially knocking out a huge swath of commercial and government satellites that the world depends on to talk on cell phones, pay bills, and surfing the internet, according to 3 sources familiar with U.S. intelligence about the weapon. Okay, so 3 sources of U.S. intelligence, you might equal one person that knows a little bit. Those sources gave CNN a more detailed understanding of the weapon Russia is preparing and the threat it could pose than the U.S. government had previously disclosed. The weapon is still under development and not yet in orbit, Biden administration officials have said publicly, but if used, officials say it would cross a dangerous Rubicon in the history of nuclear weapons and could cause extreme disruption to daily life in ways that are hard to predict. Now, they've been able to do this since, what, 50s? This kind of new weapon, known generically by military space experts as a nuclear EMP, would create a pulse of electromagnetic energy and a flood of highly charged particles that would tear through space to disrupt other satellites flying around the Earth. Again, something we've been able to do since, I'm pretty sure, the 50s. Biden publicly emphasized there is no nuclear threat to the American people or anywhere else in the world with what Russia is doing right now. Anything they do and or will do is related to satellites in space and potentially damaging those satellites, he said. The Defense Department and the intelligence community have been monitoring Russian efforts to develop a wide range of anti-satellite weapons, including an EMP, for years. There has been an outpouring of intelligence in recent months specifically related to Russia's efforts to develop nuclear anti-satellite capabilities, according to a defense official. But Russia has recently made progress in its efforts to develop a nuclear EMP, a related but far from troubling technology. Again, they've had this knowledge since the 50s. It's not a new idea, and as a now you say it. As a concept, it dates back to the end of the Cold War. But even further, said a U.S. official, but they said the big fear with any potential EMP device in orbit is it might render large portions of certain orbits useless by creating a minefield of disabled satellites, which would then prove dangerous to any new satellites we send up. The Office of the Director of National Intelligence, the Defense Department, and National Security Council declined to comment. It was not immediately clear whether devices as designed could affect GPS and nuclear command and control satellites, which operate in a higher orbit than the vast constellation of commercial and government satellites in low Earth orbit. These larger satellites are designed to be impregnable in a nuclear blast, but a former top Pentagon space official told CNN could be vulnerable depending on how close they were to the EMP, how old they are, and how big the explosion. The ultimate weapon. That experts say this type of weapon could have the potential to take out large constellations of small satellites, such as SpaceX's Starlink, which has been used successfully by Ukraine in its ongoing war with Russia. That would almost certainly be a weapon of choice for Russia, the U.S. official and other sources said, because it would do the same damage to any Russian satellites also in the area. It also remains unclear how well developed the technology is. Russia's had a series of setbacks in recent years, but a recent assessment of intelligence about Russia's progress so worried some lawmakers on Capitol Hill that all members of the House were invited to read up on the issue soon after a vague public statement was issued bringing the matter into light. In other words, this would be the military-industrial complex looking for more money. That's basically what this stuff is. Because, folks, this technology's been around for a very long time. They're beyond the technology of having to use a nuke. Now they have directed energy weapons. And when I say they, I'm not talking about Russia. I'm talking about us. And I guarantee you that if we have it, Russia has it. So, and at this point, we have directed energy weapons that could technically EMP one particular satellite in space while all the others around it wouldn't even be affected. And that's been a thing for a while now. Since what, the 90s? I'm thinking 90s. So, yeah, you have to be mindful because you've got vultures out there known as the military-industrial complex that want a bigger paycheck. So they haven't had a big enough paycheck for all these years. Now they want more. Anyway, coffee. Because I've never had enough coffee. All right. NATO de facto a party to Ukraine conflict, says Moscow. And you're going to see this. It really does seem like we are marching ever so close to direct conflict with Russia. And when I say we, I'm talking about mainly actors in Europe. But the moment that those actors in Europe get full on-the-ground kinetic, you can bet we will too. Hang on, let me get some nicotine. I run on nicotine and caffeine, and if either one gets a little out of balance, it makes things hard. No, I'm kidding. I used to always say I had a little bit of blood in my nicotine system. Back when I was smoking 3 packs a day. Alright. Yeah, let me get rid of these. Was the Macron plan approved? Large NATO phalanxes, I guess, I don't know, with M1A1 Abrams and armored vehicles are deployed from 3 axes on the border with Ukraine and Belarus. So yeah, I'm just going to read a little bit real quick. Dangerous developments loom on the horizon as NATO moves large quantities of military equipment, mainly tanks and armored personnel carriers, to the borders with Ukraine and Belarus. The transfer of the NATO forces takes place from both Romania and Poland, while Slovakia is also used for the first time. This fact raises fear that Macron's plan to send French and other forces of NATO member countries on a basis of bilateral agreement with Ukraine has been approved. So everybody's aware, should be anyway, about that nonsense that's been going on. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on a lot of these. The die has been cast. NATO Army Corps to be deployed in Odessa and Kiev. France sends 20,000 troops under nuclear umbrella. So again, I'm telling you, they are really making strides in this direction. Says the war preparations, and that's why I love that War News 24/7 is back. You don't get this, even from RT, you don't get this information. The war preparations of NATO member countries are peaking so that the NATO Expeditionary Force will soon be ready for development in Ukraine on the basis of bilateral agreement with Zelensky. According to U.S. sources, France has mobilized just 8,000 troops out of the 20,000 it needs for operations for Ukraine. For this reason, it accelerates the recruitment of volunteers. According to a map and French sources, if the Ukrainian front collapses, French and other NATO forces will be deployed in Odessa, Kiev, and along the border with Belarus. The purpose is to protect Odessa and prevent the entry of Russian and Belarusian forces into Ukraine and the subsequent siege of the Ukrainian capital. In practice, NATO gives Russia the possibility to take, without getting involved, Nikolaev, Dnipro, Kharkiv, etc. It indirectly suggests to Moscow that Ukraine be divided on the North-South Korea model. Before the deployment of the French and other forces in Ukraine, NATO must have completed war preparations by geographic zones. These are the following. And then, like I said, it says it's got a map and all that good stuff. But, again, it's that push forward. And I think we're going to continue to see that. Lukashenko, Belarus is preparing for war, and I say it openly, what he said about the Suwalki corridor. It says here, we are preparing for war, and I say it openly, said the president of Belarus, Alexander Lukashenko, during his visit today with Grodno, on the border with Poland and Lithuania. However, Lukashenko clarified that Belarus has peaceful intentions. Don't believe anyone who says we want to fight, he said in his statements, while adding that we don't need to threaten anyone, we don't want any foreign territory. The president of Belarus said his country was equipping its military to be ready for an attack, accusing NATO members, Poland and Lithuania, of preparing for war by building fortifications and buying offensive weapons. He also reassured the residents of Grodno, which was Polish territory between the wars, telling them, you belong to us, we will not hand you over to anyone. In Gomel, at the opposite end of Belarus on the border with Russia and Ukraine, the Belarusian National Guard began a 3-day exercise to test the readiness of its officers, according to the Ministry of Defense in Minsk. There will be an exercise to recruit volunteers for defense in times of war. So again, everybody's ponying up. So those are what I have on the Ukraine situation. I've got one here covering the Israel situation. Got one here covering North Korea. And then we got a couple other things to go over. And then we'll be ready for headlines. I've been spending a lot of time today reading. I was going to mention that too. I fell a couple of books behind on my Franklin Horton Borrowed World series, and I think, what is it, the Reset Roadhouse, I think it's called, something like that's what I'm reading right now. Hey, Buck You Two Fitch, how you doing, brother? Haven't seen you in a while. I see you every once in a while post on Facebook, but haven't seen you in a while. I think I saw you like the other day you posted something, I think, that came across my news feed. Oh, man. But yeah, I've been reading the Borrowed World series, the last two books that's been written on those. Reset Roadhouse, and then I don't remember the name of the last one that's been written, but I've got it. I got about 150 pages or so left on this book, and then I'll start the other. Right on. I'm spoiled, though, I'll say that, by Joe's books. Joe's books, and I like Franklin Horton. I love Franklin Horton's books, but Joe's books are just incredible. Absolutely incredible. Okay. Let me have a couple of vapes. We'll get on this Israeli-Iranian situation. Act of war. Israeli F-35 adheres level Iranian consulate in Syria. I know I said the enunciation of that wrong. Iranian officials and diplomats dead. Says for the first time, a building of the Iranian diplomatic mission was bombed. And now that's playing with fire. It really truly is. Israeli F-35 Adir jets bombed Iran's consulate in Syria, killing senior Iranian guard officials and other military personnel serving under diplomatic cover in that country, in a move that is a direct act of war against Iran. Netanyahu gave the green light to bomb the building of the Iranian diplomatic mission, breaking Iran's last red line. Never before has an Iranian consulate or embassy been overtly bombed. Iran emphasized that its consulate was bombed by 6 missiles fired by F-35 Adir fighter jets. Iran's foreign minister said that Netanyahu has lost his mental balance due to successive losses in Gaza and failure to achieve the goals of the war. Now, I have to, just by watching the situation and looking around the fringes of the whole situation, I have to agree that's what's going on. The reason I say this is because I just covered an article that Israel is looking to go after the Orthodox folks now as far as conscription, which tells me that Israel has had to have a lot of losses in their war with Hamas. So apparently they are, and at the same time, Netanyahu is losing a lot of face and losing a lot of support. And I don't think this stuff is going to help any. But it says the targeting of Iranian consulate is a violation of international norms, and the Zionist entity will suffer the consequences. The Israeli airstrike killed, among others, the senior commander of the IRGC's Quds Force, Mohammad Reza Zahidi, Iranian news agencies reported. Zahidi had served as the head of the Air Force and Ground Forces of Iran, while he had been a link with forces of Assad and Hezbollah for years. A Syrian military source said the entire building was destroyed, with everyone inside killed or injured. So again, not good. That is not a good escalation. And this makes things a little bit more serious too, because once a nation is able to progress from liquid-fueled rocket boosters to solid-fuel rocket boosters, well, that makes them all the more mobile. And so, especially, we already know North Korea has tested both hypersonic land-based missiles and hypersonic submarine-based missiles successfully, I might add. So this is going to give them the portable capability of that. North Korea said on Tuesday, test fired what is presumed to be a new solid-fuel rocket, officials in Seoul have claimed. Pyongyang has made no immediate comment on the reported launch. The South Korean military said it had detected a possible intermediate-range ballistic missile, or IRBM, take off near the North Korean capital Pyongyang at 6:53 a.m. local time, before plunging into the sea off the country's east coast. The suspected test comes just a week before legislative elections in South Korea, which will test the support for conservative President Yoon Suk-yeol, who has taken a hard line against Pyongyang during his 2 years in office. North Korea has increased weapons testing in recent weeks after leader Kim Jong-un's New Year declaration that he is ending a policy seeking reconciliation with the South. On March 19th, state-run Korean Central News Agency reported a test of a multi-stage solid-fueled rocket engine for a new type intermediate-range hypersonic missile. KCNA did not provide details of the new weapon mentioned, but Pyongyang previously reported testing a hypersonic glide vehicle, while all ballistic missiles reach hypersonic velocity 5 to 10 times the speed of sound, An HGV can maneuver at high speeds as it reaches a target, enabling it to evade missile defenses. According to Kim, the development of the IRBM system is critical to North Korea's security in the event of a regional conflict. The country's intercontinental ballistic missiles could, in theory, reach the United States mainland. So, that is not a good progression in their technology. So, before we get to that other one, I'm going to do this one real quick. The largest fresh egg producer in the U.S. has found bird flu in chickens at Texas and Michigan plants. So I just wanted to bring this to your awareness. We're dealing with this stuff again. I checked earlier because I was curious. The last time that we had bought eggs from Walmart, they were pretty expensive, to be honest. They're like almost half of, right now, they're almost half of what they were when we last bought them, because we buy the big 60 eggs in the box. They were like 9 something today, and if I recall correctly, I think I paid like 17 something the last time we got them. So yeah, so just kind of keep an eye on your egg prices and whatnot. And, of course, chicken prices are probably going to go up again and all of that nonsense. So I don't know that chicken prices really came down a whole lot, to be honest. They've been a little crazy for a while. Okay, and this last thing, I got a video for you that I saw. It was actually posted by another YouTube channel, but I went to go find the actual video posted by the person that made the video, and this is just crazy. I'm just going to turn up the volume. I'm just going to play the video at 6 minutes 40 seconds. I'm going to play the video. I'll even make it bigger, and it's not necessarily centered, but whatever. I wished I could get it over to the side a little bit, but oh well. I don't know that I can in any way. I don't think so. We'll try that. Anyway, let me turn the volume up. I'll shut up and play the video. This is crazy, yo.
In October 2021, about 1,000 police officers attended a private police training conference in Atlantic City. What we found was really disturbing.
I'm not sure the guy who's recording you like, oh, I am not a citizen of the United States under Act 1260. Shut the up, right? About to get pepper sprayed, tased, windows broken out, mother.
You start to get a picture of why cops behave the way they do when you see how they act behind closed doors and how they teach each other. Remember, the audience is interacting with all of this very positively, as far as I can tell.
They denigrated women and racial and ethnic minorities.
I don't want a hero's exit. I don't want to fucking die like 91 with hookers and cocaine around me, you know? Why wouldn't that be your goal and objective? Like, I'm on vacation in Colombia, money, and these girls like are not as wealthy and they need to do things to make money.
If you're trying to get a little boo, nanny, poon, tang, whatever the hell you call it, okay? There's an approach. You don't walk up and say, hi, what's your name? How old are you? Sounds like casting couch, doesn't it?
They promoted a warrior mentality and glorified violence.
There's nothing else I'm good at. I love violence, I love fighting, I love shooting, and I fucking love freedom. It wasn't that long ago that we were drinking out of the skulls of our enemies. Like, I'm gonna fucking murder this guy, then I'm gonna take his head, then I'm gonna cut his head in half, and then I'm gonna boil his skull, and then I'm gonna drink out of that skull.
Just a while, west, south, wherever. You don't believe me? Run from Georgia State Patrol. Run from me. Somewhere along the chase becomes neither confirm or deny there's some videos out there with me doing just that.
Obviously, what is the first thing that I went and did when I heard him say that? I searched for the video. Check this out from just a few months ago.
First on the news at 6 o'clock, a Reserve West Baton Rouge Parish Sheriff's deputy who shot into the back of a fleeing car is facing charges tonight.
Sean Pardazzi was fired in February, months after the initial incident took place. He's now facing charges of illegal discharge of a firearm and obstruction of justice.
Vehicle in park.
And what about the main dude? Well, I looked him up also, Dennis Benigno. He's the one who said he was going to tase the guy for filming him.
Shut the fuck up, right? About to get pepper sprayed and fucking tased. Windows broken out, motherfucker.
Well, on Street Cop Training's website, he has this bio of himself, where he says that he worked in one of New Jersey's largest municipalities in 2005. He has received multiple awards, including but not limited to Life-Saving, Meritorious Service, Mayor's Award for Excellence in Public Service, several letters of recognition, leadership awards, and certificates of appreciation from several law enforcement organizations, and he now leads one of the fastest growing LEO education companies in the country. But CBS News had this headline about him. CBS New York investigates controversial police trainer was disciplined for alleged racial slur, other incidents. They ask, how did a former New Jersey police officer who was disciplined 3 times in a period of 5 years go on to train thousands of officers while charging local governments thousands of dollars?
They belittled internal affairs.
We get kicked in the dick one too many times, when we get in trouble by IA, when we lose our motivation and inspiration. I harped a lot on all the negativity. How many times I got kicked in the dick because they didn't want me to go out there and hit a trap, and they didn't want to hit money, they didn't want to hit me kilo. I hit 15 kilos, I hit 300,000. I'm still getting yelled at. I'm still getting yelled at.
Somebody with some kind of fucking thing on their shoulders or neck collar or fucking whatever. Say, hey, we watched your body cam videos. We don't think you got a voluntary consent. Here's 7 pieces of case law, fuckhead. Stop trying to back the 19-year-old dispatcher. Get a fucking life.
They dehumanize civilians.
You don't like treating Turks, right? You're like, fuck them. The ambulance can take care of them, right? And I had a problem treating, gangbangers and the people that were the pieces of shit of society, right? I had a great mentor that told me, well, Sean, guess what? That's a live tissue lab, bro. Anytime you can come to one of these shitbags, absolutely do the best you can. Absolutely, because what if he gets hurt, right? Or she gets hurt, or he gets hurt, then I can perform that flawlessly because now I've had some reps in. Everybody get that? Everybody with me?
Street Cop's website is promoting upcoming training across the country. Benigno did not respond to CBS News for an interview request. He did post a video in response to the comptroller report apologizing for the offensive language and denying that Street Cop ever taught unconstitutional policing.
In fact, right there on their website, they are advertising this year's 2024 Street Cop Training Conference in Kissimmee, Florida, April 28th of this year. So just here in a few weeks. Look at this. Here's the cost. Per person, $699. Why so much? Well, I'm sure it has nothing to do with the fact that taxpayer money is likely paying for this. As far as the guy saying that he hasn't taught anything unconstitutional, well, I will link below and put on the blog the actual report from the comptroller's office in New Jersey that goes into great detail, not only on what I've told you about here, but many more things that they've said that were blatantly wrong and unconstitutional. It's all laid out there with the case law. It's a fascinating report, and you can go over it as much as you want. All they're going to do is just hide next time. They're going to make sure there's no video. They're going to suppress the course materials. But this, I predict, is going to be a treasure trove of future civil rights litigation, both in criminal cases and in civil Section 1983 cases. We need to know which police officers have been to these seminars. Who taught there? Is there video? What was said? What were the course materials? This is going to be more important now than ever. If you have any additional footage from any of these seminars or know anything else about these instructors, now is the time to start compiling it and spread this footage. Everybody needs to know. The taxpayers need to know, not just in New Jersey, but elsewhere, because look at all the states that have paid taxpayer funds to pay for these courses. The taxpayers need to know.
Alrighty, and thankfully I could play that without having been logged into TikTok, because I don't have a TikTok account and I'm not going to sign up for one. Anyway, I don't know where he was talking about having the links and stuff, or maybe you have to be logged in to see that stuff. I don't know, but I don't see any links on his TikTok page. But anyway, that's crazy. I'm an advocate for taking care of problems and removing problems And I'm a big advocate for that. You can only do so much before you just have to throw your hands up and say, no, no more, and remove the problem. And that's what we need to do when it comes to these organizations like that. That's what we need to do a lot, is we need to start removing the problems. That's all that these organizations, these groups like this are. It's just a fact of life. And you can make excuses for them, you can, whatever the case may be. But when something is more of a net negative and does nothing to help the situation, then it's time to get rid of it. And that's exactly where we stand. In that instance, I'm not meaning all of law enforcement or anything like that. I'm talking about these types of training programs that are teaching this mindset. And I warned about it for a long time. But it applies to everything in life. If there's going to just be a net negative and no attempt at a net positive, then remove it and work towards things that will be a net positive, because that's what we all should be after to begin with. Sad fact of the matter is, there's individuals out there that have no intent at all of being a net positive in any way. Not unless it's for themselves. And when you run into those types of individuals, that's all you can do. Just remove them. I got a fair amount of headlines to go over. And then we'll call it an evening. So now that I've taken back up the War News 24/7 site, they have quite a few articles, and quite a few are really good. I have a couple of vapes here, and we'll run through them. Okay. Financial Times says secret documents reveal when Putin would start nuclear war. Speed versus Speed versus stealth is Russia's new mysterious superweapon coming from space. And we're talking about some kind of an aircraft. Okay, I covered that. Russian VDV prepares for Odessa at the gates of air power. Ukrainians urgently fortify the city. Kiev issued an order to evacuate Chasiv Yar. The Russian army has broken through the last line of defense and is entering the city. Israel to ban Al Jazeera, says Netanyahu. Russia intercepts explosive icons from Ukraine. I guess they were trying to smuggle them into like Orthodox religious things. Several injured in drone attack in Russia's Tatarstan. Israeli strike kills foreign aid workers in Gaza, says NGO. A student killed in school shooting in Finland. I think all the kids involved were like 12 years old. Pretty crazy. A Peruvian president replaces 6 ministers after police raid her home. Moscow condemns assassination of Iranian generals. Kiev has lost more than 80,000 troops since January, says Russian Ministry of Defense. Boeing 777 diverted after toilet overflows into cabin. So, and I'm pretty sure it was, what was it? Dang it. United Airlines, which I think is the one that's been having all of the issues. It's been United. Glenn Beck was talking about that, and how really Boeing's taking a lot of heat for what's going on, but what's going on is very poor maintenance and very poor inspection. So that's really not on Boeing. That's on the airline. Oil prices hit highest level since 2022. Pussy Riot Ukrainian soldier gets 8-year jail sentence. Just 8% of Ukrainians ready to take up arms against Russia, says pollster. Russia comments on tip-off from U.S. about possible terror attack. Russia will track down masterminds of Moscow terrorist attacks, says Putin. Olympic officials asked Ukraine to spy on Russian athletes, says IOC chief. Explosives in Ukrainian icons enough to destroy a 5-story building, says the FSB. Russia's foreign debt fell by nearly 20% in 2023, says data. Israeli attack on Damascus was a terrorist act, says Moscow. Top Iranian general killed in Israeli strike. What we know so far is like a recap article. Covered that. Putin tells officials to crack down on illegal immigration. A Belarusian president explains why he banned sanctions complaints. A NATO de facto part of Ukraine conflict, says Moscow. Russian oil heading to India despite sanctions, says Bloomberg. Ukraine claims to have increased drone production tenfold. Moscow reveals new Navy commanders. AUKUS presents nuclear waste risk to Australia, says Guardian. A Shia army, how Iran formed a ring of enemies around Israel. It was kind of like an explainer kind of article. Ukraine says drones hit Russian industrial area in Tatarstan where military equipment is manufactured. Israel eyes Iran. U.S. gives dozens of F-15EX fighters worth $18 billion. And I'm pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken, that a lot of those aircraft are actually set up to go to Israel right out of St. Louis. There's quite a few F-15 test flights that fly overhead, so I think they're test flights, and I want to say that they train some of the pilots here, but I'm not positive on that. Bloomberg says NATO is preparing a $100 billion fund for military aid to Ukraine. Major U.S.-Turkey deal for 155mm missiles Ankara to arm Ukraine. Covered that and that. Sanctioned Russian tycoon tops Forbes rich list. NATO allies disagree over Ukraine strikes inside Russia. Russian advance to Zaporozhye. Paratroopers and tanks destroyed the fortifications. Let's see. Odessa or Kharkiv, here and now, the great dilemma. Putin, hundreds of thousands of citizens are evacuating the city. The great flight is in progress. IDF deliberately targeted aid convoy, says media. Everyone in Japan may one day have the same last name, says a study. Well, tell them to quit doing that. Germany delivered 55 Leopard IA-5 tanks and 18 Leopard 2A6 tanks to Ukraine. By the way, that was because of a custom thing, not that families are, preferring families. It's not like Arkansas. They have different customs. Let's see. Zelensky says he signed a bill that lowers the age limit for conscription in Ukraine from 27 to 25. Let's see. Lukashenko. Oh, I covered that one. Biden, a threat to democracy, says RFK Jr. We knew that. West helping Ukraine attack deep inside Russia, says CNN. Riots erupt after mayoral vote in Turkey. And then there is a number 1 up here. That would be the quake. Magnitude 7.2 earthquake strikes Taiwan. So, I'm sure there will be a lot of information forthcoming about that. Anyway, I am going to get out of here. And God willing, we'll see you all tomorrow night. So I appreciate you coming. Hope to see you tomorrow. As always, God bless you. We love you. Be one with your spirit. And shalom.